that meeting has ended now with the president of Independent Regional Bankers. The American Bankers Association CEO Bob Nichols was at that meeting. He joins us right now. Bob, very good to have you. What came of that meeting? What did the president outline for you guys?
Thanks, Neil. Great to be with you. We had a great meeting with the president. Lasted about an hour. Talked about a whole host of things. We had 9 community bankers, Neil, from all across the United States, representing different communities. And we talked with the president about some of the impediments, some of the pieces of regulatory rules and architecture that's trickled down and has been impacting community banks, making them harder to serve their customers, clients, and communities. We talked about that a little bit, talked about how we could go about fixing some of those things, what could be done through legislation versus regulation. And we also, Neil, had a really good conversation about some of the upcoming appointments that President Trump will make, specifically in the area of these financial regulators. I mean, we had a great exchange with the president about the need to have people with real-world experience in a number of those positions. So we had a great visit. And one of the threshold questions that he asked, Neil, the president asked the group of bankers was, how are you doing? And the answer, kind of to sum the answer up, it was, we're doing well, but we could be doing better, and here's why. So we had a great exchange of views about the particular plight of community banks here in the United States, which, as you know, are the overwhelming majority of our 6,000 banks. So you really have about 5,000.
Did any of your colleagues, Bob, maybe yourself, offer any advice in there? I always know he's had many such meetings. I think now as many in his first 6 weeks or so in office than Barack Obama had in his entire 8 years, but did anyone offer him advice?
They all did, Neil. That's a great question. They did. We talked in some specificity about a series of rules, again, some legislative, some regulatory, that are kind of getting in the way of additional lending. So we talked about some of the mortgage rules. We talked about some small business lending rules, which, of course, are so important to the small business communities all across the United States, which are, a huge labor force driver in the United States, as your viewer knows. So we did talk about some specifics as well. One thing, Neil, really encouraging from the president is he demonstrated an understanding of the need to do this in as an expedient manner as possible. That was really encouraging.
In an expedient manner, Rob? The tax cuts, the health care repeal, replace what?
No, we did not talk about tax issues or health care. We talked just about banking policy.
All right, so the financial reform efforts and to cut down on the rules and regulations. Okay.
He talked about doing that quickly. Attending the meeting were Secretary Mnuchin and Gary Cohn, who also demonstrated, obviously, a lot of sophistication.
You mentioned Mnuchin there, and I'm not going to jump on you. I have another guest here,
sure.
But I was curious. Treasury Secretary Mnuchin raised with me that August time frame to get the tax cuts signed, sealed, and essentially delivered. Just today, we heard from Mitch McConnell that might look a tad unrealistic. Would it make a difference to you or to your fellow bankers if that were delayed, maybe significantly so?
Well, we didn't talk about that in this meeting.
We
just talked about reg reform.
I'm just asking you.
But I would say that the desire to get our tax code more internationally competitive vis-a-vis our peers and to reduce some of those rates, clear out the underbrush, and get rid of some of those kind of loopholes, I do think that's good public policy. As you know, we've had this conversation for years, and so we hope that can occur expediently as well.
Robert Nichols, thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.